this is from a different world. So I always like to share this with both people who are just seeking to enhance their own journey or are helping others enhance their journey. So a very, very important part of the creative process, and it connects a little bit to that melancholy that really resides in those individual energies we are covering today, is that state we call the void state, right? You could kind of look at it, if you want to look at this in a binary way, as the opposite of the flow state, right? We have the flow state. This is when we're one with the flow and we let it all come through us, and we're just the vessel of whatever we're creating. And it really is not just about writing or drawing or making music, although it can be all of these things, or dancing. I love flow state description from when the dancer is the dance and you cannot really, right? There's a movement that's coming through, and the dancer are one thing. And then there's the opposite. And the opposite is that waiting for the music, and it's as important, right? So there is this famous saying, and Ra always mentioned this one, that's like the music is in between the notes. It's in the pauses. It's not, if you only have notes and there is no pauses in between the notes, the music doesn't happen. So we really have to have both this productive, stimulated, flowing state of creation, and for us to actually have anything of worth to come through us in that moment, we also have to have our void cycles. So what happens when we get to the place of the void? Again, as I said before, and I'm sorry if this is too militant, but I did have to go to the army, and I did have to go do basic training. 90% of the time when you're in basic training, you do one thing, and this clean the barrel of your gun. They give you a gun and you have to clean it all the time. And I love that idea that, the barrel of the gun has to be clean. Otherwise, when you are ready to shoot, it will backfire. All right. Now, again, I don't like the militancy of this as of now, but this idea that in preparation for flow, you want to keep the channel clear. You want to keep the channel clean. And being in a void state is our body, mind, psyche, and emotionality's way of creating that clear channel. So I always do this. So we'll do this today again. Here is the mantra that I practice when I feel empty, stuck, nothing is happening. And it goes, oh, good, I'm empty. Or, oh, good, I'm in a void state. I will tell you what I've learned to do. I used to get stuck for years when I would get to the void state. Because like, no, I have to control it. My ego, my open ego. Oh, like, what do? I got to do, right? Instead of adapting, I would be like, no, I got to make a decision for my mind. I now can get through a void state in a freaking afternoon if I just let myself. And what does that look like? It's not going in bed and being on my social media. That's not going to do it. It's going out in nature, maybe, and being just okay with the nothingness. So I would take a walk, not even one of those adventurous walks when I'm really stretching myself, just like a nice walk to a garden or a park around me. Of course, it's even better if you're next to water, like a lake or a creek or the ocean, and just let yourself be there. Now, if you have whiny, petty, vindictive, whatever, like thoughts, just let them be. Observe without judgment. If your thoughts are like, oh, I'm horrible, I suck, that's also okay, as long as you don't get stuck in that too much. Just observe, right? If your thoughts are like, I'm such an imposter, everybody else has something I don't have, don't get mired in repetition. Don't become the victim of those thoughts, but be curious of them. Thank them. Oh, thank you, imposter syndrome. I now am learning that you're a part of what I'm processing, right? So actively being passive, if that makes sense, gets you out of a void state. I'm trying to not say gets you out of a void state as if a void state is something bad that has to be, gotten out of. Launches you from a void state into a productive state in the correct, exact timing for your process. How about that, right? So by acknowledging you know, it's not happening today. So what if I got a babysitter and it's my writing time and my kids are, I'm depriving them of me and blah, 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 as if they give a shit. Anyways, right? Never mind. This could be a productive, non-productive work day in your creativity. If it's your writing time, your creativity time, or time you were going to create something in your business and there is the nothingness, be okay with that. Spend some time with that, remaining curious about what comes up. And I guarantee, open heart, so I don't make a promise, but I definitely, from my experience and from the experience of my clients, you will get through the void a lot faster. Now, this can also be helpful for states of shock. You know, just the same, just be in the void of the shock and be okay with not knowing, not having certainty, not being sure about the direction, not being sure if you're safe. Just try to be okay with that, and be present for that. Now, for some people, it could be really good to automatic write, you know, like do some writing. For me, I actually like to do a lot of my, you know, my crazy drawings. I like to show, you know, you like my little silly, I'm not an art, you know, never thought of myself as an artist. So actually, for me as a writer, when I do my doodles and my drawings with my rubrics, that's a place that I can be just mindlessly creative without that needing to serve any purpose. This is just from this morning as I was writing notes for the PowerPoint. You know, you can see that I'm taking little breaks to indulge in my kind of creative activity. And I don't even think about it anymore. I'm just like, I'm here, and I'm doing this, and then I'm doing that. Like my little brain is, if you look at my variable, is like a little honeysuckle. How do you call those? The birds, the honey birds, honey. I forget the name in English, but the ones that like just go from, and that's okay.
Hummingbird.
Hummingbird. There you go. I was like translating back from the Hebrew in my head. Great. But anyways, yeah, my brain is a hummingbird, and most of our brains are hummingbirds. So yeah, I just want to reshape our conversations about facing a void, because, and I actually want to invoke the 47 hexagram here, and you guys might have it or not have it. And why are we talking about it? It's a mental, abstract energy that is sometimes oppressive. It's all about trying to make sense. But when you go to the ancient I Ching and you look at date 47, it's my favorite hexagram. It's called exhaustion. It has very, very potent information and lessons to teach you about being in a void state and about hitting a place of death and rebirth. So in that hexagram of exhaustion, it says, you know, when you are in the place where it's described as a dead sea in the middle of a desert, and that even more dead than the desert around it, and you have taxed your mind, your body, your soul, everything. Nothing you're going to throw at this is going to work. And the only way, only grace offered for you is metamorphosis. You have to die. So it basically says your old skin is dead. It's like a husk. And the only way to really get through this is kind of get out of that cocoon and get reborn. Transformation is the only grace. And then finally it says, which I really love and breaks my heart, for many, many reasons, it says you can only go to your homeland a new you. Now, again, those of you, I started with the terrible, awful, disgusting, horrific war that is tearing through my homeland, or for lack of, you know, I was born in Israel, Palestine. And this whole idea that maybe we can go back as new, to try anew, something different. Maybe there is a potential here for a rebirth through all this senseless death. So this is why I invoke the 47, talking about the void state, that there is, in the darkest night of the soul, there is a potential. If you've exhausted mind, body, and everything that you, the patterns that got you here, that worked, and they're not working anymore, there is a moment in the void where you can really let all of that go, shed that old skin, and maybe emerged into something completely new. It's on a different plane. It's a higher plane. All right, guys. So you can see that I was getting all over the place here, but it's very emotional, and I really try as I grapple with the shock of the horrendousness of world events. I'm a hopeful person, so I try to think or feel what can still be hoped for, right? Because if you guys know, when you have that motivation